It's pointless spending thousands on marketing if you can't close sales. And for most businesses, they stay stuck in that rut because they think that they need to spend thousands to hire a sales consultant to fix their issues. Instead, you can create a simple automation inside Zapier using AI that will become your sales consultant, working 24/7, analyzing every single one of your calls to ensure that you constantly close more sales at higher price points. Inside Zapier, we can create what are called zaps, and we're going to create one simple zap that will save you thousands on consultants and ensure that you close sales for the price that you're actually worth. Inside Zapier, we can create a simple automation known as a zap. We can add a trigger. Now, what we want to do is we want to plug in a simple software that's going to join your Zoom calls with you, analyze your Zoom calls, and then send transcripts into Zapier that we can then feed into ChatGPT to analyze the call and then give you tangible actions off the back of it. Now, in order to do this, we can add a trigger and we can add something called Fathom. Fathom is a simple note taker. What Fathom does is it literally joins your Zoom calls, your Meets calls, your Teams calls, whatever it might be, and it then sits there and it takes notes for you. Now, Fathom gives us some data off the back of it, but it's not really exact as to the level that we want it to be. So first step would be good to go to Fathom. You can set up a free account on Fathom, and this will then join your calls automatically. What we can then do is we can add an event, which is essentially a new transcript, and then we can sign into our Fathom account. What this will then do is it will trigger every time there's a new transcript from your Fathom account, and Fathom will create a transcript automatically from every single call that you do. This will then trigger, and we can feed this in to a filter step where we're ultimately going to filter based off the meeting title. So once we connect our Fathom account, we can then continue through this, and it will give us some data here from Fathom. One of them will be meeting title name. We can select that, and then in the condition, we can select if it contains, and then what we can write in is the type of call that it is. For example, discovery call. You might call your sales calls strategy calls. Whatever the name of your call is, you can write this in. What this then means is the Zap is only going to then analyze your sales calls rather than it potentially analyzing client calls and all these different things. It will just analyze sales calls. This then filters out the need for it just working unnecessarily on things that aren't sales calls, and it's not really going to give us accurate data on. What we can then do is once we've clicked up here and we've selected meeting title name, we can then continue. After this, we simply just want to feed this into a ChatGPT step. Now in this ChatGPT step, we can select an action, and in this action, you'll notice that we've got a long list of different things. What we want to do though, is we want to choose conversation. So we can then feed this into essentially a conversation action with ChatGPT, and we can feed all of this data into this. We connect our ChatGPT account and then we can continue. Now, inside this user message, if we were to click here, we can click this plus icon, click Fathom, and once we've connected Fathom, this will then pull through the whole transcript from Fathom. We can then select transcript, and this will then pull in the transcript every single time there's a transcript from Fathom. If I have a call with you, it will pull through my transcript. If my friend has a call, it will pull through their transcript. And then this means that it's got that data in ChatGPT to essentially analyze. What we can then do is inside instructions, we essentially want to give it a prompt that it's going to use to analyze that data. We don't just want it to give us some generic output. We ultimately want it to perform at the level that a high performing sales consultant would. And in order to do that, we've written out our AI Sales Call Analyser prompt. And this is the way that we lay it out. So we would essentially copy and paste this into essentially this instruction section. And the way that we run this is the following. You are an expert in high ticket sales, psychology, persuasion, communication, and conversation diagnostics. I will provide you with a transcript of a business development call. Obviously, you can rephrase a business development call accordingly based off what type of call that it is. If we're selling services to help businesses save time and grow, it's a business development call. Your job is to maximize close rates while protecting integrity and client trust. When analyzing, always map insights to one of the 5 sales drivers: trust, authority, need, urgency, offer, and clarity. Only include insights that would have a measurable impact on conversations, not service level feedback. We don't just want it to give us generic advice like you should have said this. We want to give it true, genuine advice that a high performing sales consultant would give us, one that costs thousands. Return your feedback in exactly this structure and nothing else. This then creates everything in a structured format, so it's easy for everyone to analyze across the board. Now, a big thing in business is we don't want things constantly changing. We want a consistent way of doing them. So this is how. So firstly, what went well? Top 3 to 5 points. Highlight specific strengths that move the deal forwards. For each point, an insight, one clear sentence. Evidence, a short quote, timestamp, why it worked, and the sales driver, if it was trust, authority, need, urgency, or offer clarity. And the impact, high, medium, or low. So then we always see what that key thing was, the evidence of it, and then what the driver was and how impactful it was. So we then know maybe to do more of that or less of that. Areas for improvement, highlight weaknesses or missed opportunities for each point and issue, the evidence, why it matters, the fix. So not just saying this was an issue, but this was an issue and here's how to fix it. And then the sales drivers. Then lastly, action steps for the next call, 3 money moves. Each action must include, firstly, the action. So what is it that it's going to help with? The script, so 25 words the sales rep could use in the next call, when to use it, the success metrics. So it's all well and good us saying to do something, but how can we actually make sure that there's a success metric to track, that we're tracking, and that's the thing that's going to improve it. Why this increases conversions, and then lastly, the difficulty of it. We can then simply copy and paste this into the instructions, and what this will then do is it will allow us to then feed the data into here and actually get output from it. Now down here with the temperature, the higher we increase this, the more sort of like varied the responses could be, the more sort of like out there the responses could be. So we've just got to be careful. If we're getting responses that are sort of quite broad, we can make the temperature smaller. When we continue, we can test it and it will give us an output. When it gives us an output, just like when we were pulling through data before and we had data pop up here, any steps that we now add under this, so let's say for example, we just added a step to send an email as an example, we'll then see that if we're sending an email, what will then happen is now we've got the data that we'll pull from here. So if we had actual test data and we tested this, we'd be able to select the output, and this would then give us the output from that ChatGPT section. We can then send that anywhere. So for example, what we do is we have this automatically update the notes of a contact inside our CRM system. So then when a call is taken, every note is automatically logged on there. So then we can then see an overview of every single call that's taken. If I took it, if someone else took it, and we can then figure out what worked, what didn't, and what we can then do in future to improve it. All automatically tracked on each contact, so it's easy to manage in future, and we're not having to then manually copy and paste. It's one thing sending an email, another thing sort of sending a Slack message, but it's another thing tracking it on each contact automatically, because then it means that we're not sending messages all around just for the sake of it. We don't want notifications, we want it all structured. So you would then in theory select your CRM system, we link into Lead Connector, so we then select ours, and then what we simply do is we then create or update the contact. So we add or update the contact, and then that pushes it through as a note onto their contact. What this then means is after every single call, we've got full perspective as to what worked, what didn't, what we can do in future, and then how we can just constantly make sure that we're continuing to improve. And as our product evolves, our sales team does as well. And with that, naturally our price goes up because we're delivering even more value. You can literally plug this in, turn it on. It's literally 4 steps and it will improve your sales process so significantly without you needing to pay an expensive consultant.